Now, one question I like to try to answer every year or two is, can you earn a bond without ever leaving the free-to-play game mode? Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it quick? Definitely not. But here's how I did it, and it only took me 24 hours, woo! So here is our free-to-play account. Essentially, it's a level 3, but the only stats that are leveled up were to get rid of the trade restrictions. Otherwise, we're kind of limited on what we can do and sell on the Grand Exchange. So we have absolutely no money in the bank right now, not even a single GP, so we have to go get some money somewhere. And I actually had to run all the way to the east of Rock Bank just to find anything. We found some ashes on the ground. I guess we'll pick these up for like a minute just so we can get some starter cash. So there is one inventory of ashes, and that netted us 1.6k. By the way, the cost of a bond right now is about 6 mil. Super expensive, so yeah, we're gonna have to get pretty creative. So we started off by buying some wines from the Grand Exchange. That will keep us alive for the foreseeable future. And of course, the first thing we're gonna do is run through the Stronghold of Security. This is like the easiest money in the game to begin with, but there's our free 10k. We're gonna make sure we use that wisely. Alright guys, we're buying lobster pots. Kind of a weird moneymaker. Why exactly were we buying these? Well, we can buy them for like 1 or 2 GP from this fishing shop in Port Sarim, and we can actually sell them for I think 300 or 400 on the GE, which is a huge markup and a pretty good way to invest our 10k. Also, a lot of people don't know about this, but there's actually a deposit box on this dock here, so you don't actually have to run nearly as far because there's no bank nearby in Port Sarim. Just a quick tip, super helpful. Okay, so we invested like 4,000 of our GP and we ended up with 162 lobster pots. So we're gonna go price check one right now, and 800, okay. Seems like we're filling a bit of a hole in the market right now, but I'll take it. If we manage to sell them for 800, we're gonna actually get about 130k back, so like 125k profit. So after just one evening, I was able to sell off all of the lobster pots for 800, which is really nice because after claiming everything, we're already up to 135k, which is a great way to kind of jumpstart this account. So because that worked pretty well, I'm actually going to go back and buy more of them, and we'll see if this works a second time. So I went ahead and grabbed like 100 lobster pots, not a ton, and I'm going to dump them back in here for a very similar price. Now my strategy in free-to-play is to almost always have something selling or buying in the Grand Exchange. You really have to take advantage of the limited offer slots that you have, and buying things from shops or selling things to shops are some of the best moneymakers in free-to-play. So now that we have a bit of money and we're kind of waiting for things to sell anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of magic training. We swung by Drainer Village simply just to grab the Chronicle and some teleport cards. This is pretty much the only early game teleport you get besides magic, so it's very helpful. Okay, so what I'm doing here is actually killing monkeys. Kind of an interesting method, but monkey bones are actually worth like 300 or 400 each. So killing them seems like a no-brainer to me. So we collected a full inventory of monkey bones, you know, it's something. And there is 13 magic. Okay, although the monkeys were kind of interesting, they were pretty annoying to kill and there's lots of snakes around, so I'm gonna actually move on to a more consistent way to train magic. I'm heading on over to the hill giants, just an easy monster to kill. And we're going to train here a little while, and maybe we'll even get a Giant's Key. There is 25 magic, no luck on the Giant's Key, although we did get a beginner clue scroll, which I might go ahead and do. Leveling up magic in free-to-play, very important because you don't have any other way really to get around the map, pretty much why I'm training it. Now I am going to try to do this beginner clue. While the rewards aren't worth very much, the clues really just don't take that long either. Okay, well I guess we're off to Falador. Well, there we go. There's our very first casket for a reward of 50 coins. Okay, well that's kind of your average beginner, to be honest. Okay, while we're here though, I actually noticed something really interesting. If we go over here to the mace market, we can actually go ahead and buy a certain item and resell it on the Grand Exchange for a significant amount of profit. Now that item is actually the steel mace. Kind of a random item and you wouldn't assume anyone would ever want to buy this, but there's actually one interesting thing about it. It's actually a requirement for an easy clue step, which means some people will need to buy this randomly, and if, you know, nobody happens to be selling it, sometimes this item jumps up in value, and hopefully we can just sneak in there and make a bit of money. So there are 4 maces per world. We're just going to hop around here a little bit and see how many we can collect. Okay, I think that's probably enough maces for now. We ended up buying, I think, around 100 of them. Now the steel maces normally aren't worth anything, but if we actually go ahead and price check one right now, they're selling for 3,500 each, which is a ton. No clue if we're able to get this price, but I'm gonna pop them in here for like, 3,400 and see if we can sell any. Okay, so we waited overnight and I was actually able to sell 20 of them, which is not bad. We actually still have like 80 left though, so we're gonna readjust the price here and we'll pop them in for 2,900. All right, so where are we going now? Well, Clan Wars, and I didn't actually even know you could do this in free-to-play, but you can go to the Ferox Enclave. You can even use the Restore pool in free-to-play, which I had no idea about. So right now we're actually running into the deep wilderness looking for a particular item. We're looking for the Team Cape 31. I just checked and it looks like a clan or something has started buying these very quickly, and some of them are selling for 10k each or more. Which is a great opportunity. We're just going to run out here and see if we can find, I think, Edward. Okay, well, it turns out it's William, but we found him eventually. For now, we're just going to go for one inventory. I have no idea how well these are going to be selling if I missed, the boat on this one, and it's kind of a pain to get to. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours, and a couple things have happened. We have sold a few of the capes, I think like 2, so yeah, didn't really work very well. That said, we were able to sell most of our steel maces, which is really nice. And we also ended up buying like 200 mithril maces, which we're actually able to sell to the shop. So kind of a reverse of what I've been doing so far. Okay, so we're in Falador right now, and I'm gonna try to get 2 things done at once. Every world that we hop to, we're gonna sell 10 of our mithril maces, which we're actually profiting a few K each time we do that. But on top of that, we're also going to buy steel maces because they still seem to be selling. So each world hop is actually quite profitable. We're getting like a couple thousand GP from the mithril maces every time we hop, and like 4,000 or 5,000 from all the steel maces. I'm just making a ton of money from this shop, both from buying and from selling. Okay, so I finished hopping through all of the worlds. We made a fair bit of money actually selling off those mithril maces. But let's move on to something else now. So we have 1 offer slot left that currently is not being used, so we need to fill it with something. What we're going to fill it with is actually bronze plate legs. Once again, I think this is a clue step item. We're buying them from Louis' Legs and Al Kharid, and we can make about a 500 GP profit on each one we buy. Currently, we're not going to go for too many just in case this turns out to be a complete dud, but we'll buy some. Okay, so we just bought 200 bronze plate legs, and that's probably enough for now. No luck on these team capes, so we're going to take those out. And we'll pop in the legs instead. Now while we wait, we're going to do a little bit more magic training once again, and we've actually come here into the wilderness, kind of a weird place to do it, but we're actually going to kill moss giants in the wilderness. Moss giants have a chance of dropping a mossy key, and in the wilderness they're 2 times as likely to drop it, but I think a 1 in 60. Now just recently, the Briofita's essence was added to free-to-play, and you can now get it as a drop from Briofita. Which means if I happen to get a key and I get pretty lucky, that's like a 7 mil drop in free-to-play. That's unheard of. Mostly I'm here just to do some magic training, but if we get a mossy key, I will definitely go and kill Briofita. I went all the way to 37 magic, which is kind of my soft goal, with no luck on the key so far. A little unfortunate, but I think we only killed like 60 moss giants, so we're just pretty much on rate now. Okay, so we hop back to the Grand Exchange, and the only thing sold off was actually the bronze plate legs. The other 2 items I think maybe have crashed a bit. Unfortunate, but it happens with items that are so obscure like these things. Okay, so I went to go buy a Staff of Air, just to have one, and I bought it for 3,000 each. That was a complete fluke, but right now you can make a 1,500 GP profit on the Staff of Air, and the place you buy it is so close. We're gonna go test this out. We're gonna go buy a couple of them just down here at Zaf's staff shop. Uh-oh, we ended up in World 301 by accident. 1 inventory should be about a 40k profit. We'll see how that goes. So like I mentioned earlier, I always want to have an active sell offer in the Grand Exchange. I always want to be taking advantage of it, and while I do have a few items, unfortunately they're just not selling anymore, so we're going to pick up another item here, and that is the steel pickaxe. You can buy these in the Falador mine. We're buying them for 450 GP, and I think we can sell them for like 2,000. Okay, so we ended up buying 100 of them for now, and we price checked one at 3,000. Okay, so we're gonna dump those in there for 2,900, and just like that, we have hopefully 3 profitable and selling offers. Okay, so while we wait for those to sell off, I'm going to do a little bit of combat training just in case we end up getting a mossy key or we want to do another combat moneymaker. Now, free to play doesn't have a lot of quests, but one you should definitely do pretty much at level 3 is Vampire Slayer. You are able to kill the vampire with magic, and it'll get you actually from level 1 to 20 attack immediately, which is a huge help. Okay, another beginner clue and another 1.6k. Okay, well, better than the last one. Okay, so we've been training on giant frogs. Pretty good monster. They drop big bones every time, so it's like 300 GP guaranteed. And we're up to 20 strength and 20 attack so far. So it took a while, but all our Staffs of Air have sold for 2,500, which is, well, a 55k profit, not bad. And we also sold our Lobster pots. So right now it looks like the Steel Pickaxe and the Staff of Air is working really well for us. They're selling incredibly quick. For pretty much the entire last 2 hours, I've just been running back and forth to these shops, trying to stockpile as many as possible, but they're selling off really quickly, pretty much as quick as I can buy them. Okay, just made it back in time. All the pickaxes sold, but we got another 80 or so to put in there. Literally no downtime here. I've just been running back and forth this entire time. All the pickaxes sold off once again. This time though, I was able to get 120. So we're kind of slowly inching our way up. So every steel pickaxe we're making 2,000 GP on. Every Staff of Air right now, we're actually making 2.2k on. So we're making tons of money on these items right now. After claiming this offer, we're actually up to over $1 million for the first time. So that's really exciting. But now we got to go back to the staff shop because we've sold all our staffs. We ran back with the Staffs of Air. We're going to dump them in here once again for 3,700. I can't really say why, but for over a day now, the Staff of Air has sold for almost 4,000, which is hugely expensive. I have no idea why, but for some reason, this hole in the market has not been filled yet. Okay, so I'm checking back in the morning, and I managed to sell 128 staffs for 3,000 each, which is pretty much a 200k profit. Strange things are happening with this item. If we look at the graph for it, it jumps up to 5k each. Some sold for 20k just a few hours ago. I don't know why this is happening, but there's some volatility for sure. So I accumulated another 130 of the staffs, and after price checking it, it looks like I can sell them for over 4,000 each. We're gonna try for 4,500. Look at that, guys, a few hours later and they are all sold off for 4,500. That's a massive profit for free to play. I think we just made over 400k in probably about 20-25 minutes of shop buying. So incredibly profitable for the game mode. Okay, so I collected another 177 Staffs of Air. That took me about half an hour or so, and we're gonna once again try to dump them in there for a pretty unreal price of 7,000 each. I price checked one earlier and it bought for 10k, so this might be a bit wishful thinking, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, I think that was a bit greedy. We only sold 13 of them in the last hour or so. We're definitely gonna have to lower that. We went and collected more Staffs of Air, so we're actually up to nearly 300 now. We're really doubling down on this item. We're gonna try selling them for a little bit less, maybe around 6,400. It's so crazy. I do not know what's going on, but we're making so much money from this item. I lowered it to 6,000 each, and while we haven't sold all of them, I have sold 100. It just ticked over a few minutes ago. Which you can see, if we sell off this entire offer for that price, we will have sold it for 1.6 mil, which once again is completely insane for free to play. Okay, so you saw a bit of a montage of me combat training, but really what I was waiting for here were some offers to come through on the Grand Exchange. Now I had an offer in for steel two-handers, mithril pickaxes, and iron plate bodies, and finally after about a week, all of them came through. It took a long time. You can see we bought 3,000 iron plate bodies, almost 1,000 mithril pickaxes, and 2,000 steel two-handers. This took a while because the buy-in limits are pretty low. You can only buy 40 mithril pickaxes per 4 hours, for example. So it was a bit of a process. Now, what are we going to be doing with these items? Well, we're going to be selling them to the Wilderness Bandit shop. This is a really good way to make money in free-to-play. It does come with a bit of risk, but honestly, getting PK'd in free-to-play doesn't happen very often. So right now, after price checking everything, we're at 3.2 mil, including all those items, but we should be able to sell everything for a pretty good markup. So we can teleport to the Ferox Enclave, and from here we just need to run a little bit to the northwest. We're going to bring about 500 of each item. There's no point bringing them all. It takes a while to sell, and the bank really isn't that far away. So we bought the mithril pickaxes for around 400 each, and we're able to sell them for double that, but you can see that the price drops really quickly. So what we're going to be doing is selling 5 quantity of everything per world and then hopping to another one. So I'll need to do about 100 world hops, so it's going to take a little while. Alright, so I think it took 4 separate inventories, but we're finally done selling everything off. It took actually a fair while, I think maybe close to an hour and a half. In that time frame, I saw one PKer and they chased me for about 2 seconds before giving up. So before we sold the items, our bank was valued at 3.3 mil, but after selling all those items off, our bank is now worth 4.6 mil. So from selling all those items off, we made about $1 mil. Now, of course, it did take me a long time to stockpile all those items, but you can see how profitable this can be. So although we're kind of getting close to the price of a bond, we're still short about $1 mil. Now, what I want to do is actually some jewelry crafting, and normally I haven't found it to be that profitable in free-to-play, but for whatever reason, right now it's really profitable to make ruby jewelry, specifically ruby necklaces. So we're going to shoot to unlock that. To start with here, we just have to make some leather items. It'll be like a 40k investment, definitely worth it. So there is 22 crafting, and from here on we're going to start making some jewelry. So I'm going to start with some sapphire necklaces, and we'll slowly level our way up. Making sapphire necklaces is also profitable, but just not as much. Okay, so we crafted like a couple hundred of these sapphire necklaces, didn't take too long. And just like that, we're up to 34 crafting, which should be enough to start making some ruby jewelry. So at 34, we were able to make ruby rings, and we did that all the way to 40. Finally, at level 40, we were able to make the ruby necklace. Now, I invested into 3,000 gold bars and 3,000 rubies, and we're going to turn these all into ruby necklaces. It's very profitable right now. I think we can actually make about 300k per hour doing this method while training crafting while in free-to-play, so it's a pretty good opportunity. Okay, so it's been about 3 hours and we finally crafted all of the ruby necklaces. It took quite a while. We got all the way to 58 crafting, which, you know, could come in handy. Now with this jewelry, there's kind of 2 ways you can go about selling it. You could sell it directly to the Grand Exchange for a decent profit, or optionally, you could sell it to the jewelry store. The jewelry store buys things for above what the Grand Exchange will. The only downside is you have to hop between different worlds, and it does not restock very quickly, which means if there's 1 or 2 people doing this, you're kind of out of luck. But similar to the other methods, we can hop between the worlds and look for empty stock and sell maybe 5 or even 10 quantity per world in some cases, and we should be able to make more money this way. Okay, so I hopped like 100 worlds or so, and after 20 minutes I figured out every single world was full, but we actually made a fair bit of extra money doing this. And that might actually be required because it's getting very close to the price of a bond. So we still have 2,500 necklaces. We're going to dump those in here for about 1,100 and, pray that that's enough money. Okay, so an hour later and all the necklaces sold off. So how much money are we going to have after claiming that? Well, it turns out about 5.5 mil. Now bonds are worth 6 mil, but they fluctuate a ton, so I think this might be close enough to try to put an offer in and see if we can get lucky. So we're gonna dump all our money into a bond here, 5 mil, 515k, and we're gonna hope for the best. Oh, I heard a jingle, guys. I think we've done it. 1 day later, and we have bought the bond for 5.5 mil. This whole process actually didn't take as long as I thought. It's horribly slow to do moneymakers in free-to-play normally, but we got really lucky on a few different things, but specifically on the Staffs of Air. We found a really profitable crafting training method. Like, things definitely went better than expected. Yet the time it took me to earn this bond was still about 24 hours of game time, so it's not quick. But it does go to show that it is possible, and with a bit of ingenuity and a bit of creativity, you can do it too. Now, before I go here, I want to give a giant thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to March3258 and Pewter, who just joined the Dragon tier, joining the Hybrid, Alejandra, and Kush Patel. Thank you guys so much, really appreciate it. Also, thank you to YoYoSup89, Carter, Mexos, and NDM001 for subscribing at the Runite tier. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.